Shalom. Very happy to be sharing some ideas about Hoshana Rabba and Shemini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, these days which make up the end of this marathon of festivals, and I'll explain a little bit, translate at least what these days are as I go. So first of all, Hoshana Rabba, great salvation would be the translation, and it's the last day of Sukkot, the seventh day of Sukkot, and each day of Sukkot relates to one of the ushpizin, the guests, which relate to the Sefirot, the Midot of the Tree of Life, the lower qualities as the divine manifests in this world through these qualities. And the seventh day, the final day, Hoshana Rabbah, as the culmination of Sukkot and this whole process, is the day of Malchut, the lowest and final quality. And the Zohar says that Malchut has nothing of its own, the late Le Megame Klum. And it relates to King David, who was said to have nothing of his own. The Midrash says King David actually didn't even have any years of his life. He wasn't actually going to exist at all. But Adam actually looked into the future and saw this person who was going to exist, David, who had no years of his own, and said, "Oh, please, can I give him some of my years?" So for that, that's how David came to actually exist in this world. And that's how Malchut is. Malchut is sometimes compared to the earth. The Alter Rebbe, the Balatanya, Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi, says earth is the lowest thing. Everything flows downwards to the earth like Malchut, but because the earth is the lowest thing and everything flows downward to it, so new life can emerge from it. And of course, amazing, wonderful things emerge from the earth all the time. And Malchut is also, I should say, Malchut is a kingship or sovereignty, this quality. And Malchut is also compared to the womb. And the womb has nothing of its own. It receives all these elements and nutrients and ingredients from elsewhere in the body, and in the womb something happens which creates something new. It creates something brand new that has a new identity and has a new way of relating to reality, and which changes the world. And that's Malchut. It's receptivity, it's humility, it's not trying to control what comes or what emerges. It's being a vessel for what comes and what emerges. And that's the quality of Hoshana Rabbah. We're trying to take everything that's happened so far in this whole marathon of festivals and to receive it and to integrate it and to let something new and wonderful emerge. Because Hoshana Rabbah is said in the Zohar to be the day of the final sealing of the judgment for the coming year. And of course, the judgment is as much as anything, as the Baal Shem Tov says, about what we ourselves think and how we ourselves feel and approach the coming year. So what kind of year do we really want? The work of Hoshana Rabbah suggests that a wonderful way to seal, to doubly seal this, it's the seal within the seal, to finally seal ourselves for a good year, is really humility. Malchut is so much about humility, about receiving humility and letting be in humility, and this fits with the overall work of Sukkot, because remember, Hoshana Rabbah is really the final day, the seventh day of Sukkot, because the spiritual work of Sukkot is said to be the work of fixing the issue of kavod, or honor. In other words, are we seeking our own honor, as Rebbe Nachman talks about, or are we actually trying to work for the honor of life, of the Creator? And the Sefat Emet, Rabbi Yehuda Lev of Ota, of Ger, says that this is really the key work of Sukkot, which Hoshana Rabbah is the culmination of, is are we pursuing the honor of ourselves or of something much bigger and more beautiful than ourselves? So Hoshana Rabbah is hopefully a day we can be receptive and humble, and we are asked to say a lot of prayers, asking God to save life, to save us, to save humans, to save animals, to save all kinds of different life. And also, interestingly, the liturgy can be understood as asking God to save God's self, asking the divine, the infinite one, the Ein Sof, to actually save itself, to say, look, all this is a manifestation of you. Don't you care about it? It's actually part of you. All this is actually part of the great web of being that you are also part of. And we are asked to have a unique role in that symphony, in that tapestry of life, because we have the consciousness and the ability to speak, to say to God, look, this is all you, and we can articulate that as no other life form can in quite the same way. And we're asked to do that. And this day relates to the aravot, the willows, which we beat on this day. That's the key ritual moment of this day, beating the willows. And the aravot are said to represent the lips, because speech and prayer is so central to this day. And also the Aravot, the willows, are said to be very humble. They're said to have neither good deeds nor Torah, whereas all of the other species which we wave on this festival throughout Sukkot are said to have either good deeds or Torah, or even both. But the Aravot have neither good taste nor good smell. They've got nothing going for them, and that's a good thing for us to identify with on this day if we want to be humble and receptive, and therefore hopefully be able to pray with sincerity for a good sealing, for a good year for all of us, which I pray it will be. And I'll move on now to Shemini Atzeret, the gathering of the 8th day. Now, in some communities in Israel and outside Israel, Shemini Atzeret will be combined with Simchat Torah into one day, and in some communities outside Israel, they'll be separate. So Shemini Atzeret, the gathering of the 8th day, the classical famous midrash that's often told about this day is that there's a king, of course, represents God. The king has a big party and loads of people come. It's quite a big gathering. But then at the end of the party, the king says to his children, please, will you guys stay for a last intimate part of the party where I just want to celebrate with just you. And it's a really beautiful, tender moment after the whole marathon of all these festivals to have a day where there's no ritual, there's nothing to do. There's no sukkah anymore. On my 8th day on Shemini Atzeret, we let go of the sukkah. There's no lulav to shake. We let go of that. All there is to do is to be with the divine. And actually, the Arizal, the great Kabbalist, Rabbi Isaac Luria, says that all of the festivals represent a stage of the tree of life, a stage in the sephirotic evolution of life, and a stage of our relationship with God. And Shemini Atzeret is actually union with the divine. It's the day of the most intimacy with the divine in the entire year, in the entire calendar, he says. So it's a great opportunity for us to really enjoy the moment, whatever's going on. The divine, the Ein Sof, God, whatever you want to call it, is in everything, in ourselves, in everything we experience within ourselves, outside ourselves. So whether it's easy or less easy, however it is, it's an opportunity to try and really unify with the divine in that day. And the Einayim, the Chernobyler Rebbe, says so beautifully that Sukkot, in the Sukkah for 7 days, we're under the wings of our Divine Mother, and then that prepares us to be brought close for union with the divine, like a korban, a sacrifice. The word for sacrifice, English translation doesn't really do it justice, but something which is brought close to the divine is a korban, and the root of that word is to come close, karav. And so we have an opportunity now, having been for 7 days under the protective wings of our Divine Mother in the Sukkah, to come close to the divine in a very special way on Shemini Atzeret. And finally, Simchat Torah, which again will be combined with Shemini Atzeret in some communities. Simchat Torah, the rejoicing of the Torah. And we actually say the same liturgy on Simchat Torah as we do on Hoshana Rabba. Very fascinatingly, in the Hakafot, the circling round, these days are full of circling round circuits. We have many prayers that we say as we're going in circles. These circles represent the water cycle, the cycle of life, and the cycle of Torah, which are all very connected. So Simchat Torah, we say the same prayers again. And Rebbe Nachman of Breslov in Likutei Moharan, drawing on the Zohar, he says that the first time we say these prayers, we actually say them with limited consciousness, maybe because we're worried about the judgment. On Hoshana Rabba, when we say these prayers, we're worried about the sealing, we're worried about what kind of year it's going to be. But on Simchat Torah, there's nothing to worry about anymore. We've got past that point. The sealing has been made, the double sealing has been made, and all there is to do is enjoy the moment and enter into joyful union with the divine as best we can in that moment. So he says that we say these prayers actually with expanded consciousness, with greater awareness because of that, because we've let go. So it's an amazing opportunity to notice ourselves, to observe ourselves under different conditions, and the transition from a constricted consciousness to a more elevated consciousness, saying the same words just a day or two later, but with a different experience of them. And finally, I'd like to end with a teaching from the Chernobyler Rebbe, the Einayim, the light of the eyes. Teaching I've shared a little bit before, but one it's very dear to me and I think appropriate for here. He says, on Simchat Torah, we read the entire Torah and we finish it. And that teaches us, by finishing the entire Torah, that we don't know anything at all. And so, of course, then we have to begin again. Because the Torah is not just the kind of knowledge about something else, abstract knowledge about something. The Torah is our life. It's our awareness. It's our awareness of ourselves and who we are and what we are here to do and how we're here to do it. And we find ourselves in the Torah. So of course, as soon as we finish it, we have to begin it again because we don't know anything without it. And even with it, it's not about knowledge really in the academic sense of that word. It's really about the experience of our relationship with it. I wish you a very meaningful few days, and hopefully, please God, a very joyful few days and a day of blessing and days of positive judgment, positive thoughts, positive feelings as much as we can. And of course, when things are challenging, just to work with accepting and being real with what's going on. Ultimately, that's how we're going to get to a good place for ourselves, and please God for everyone we're connected to and for all beings. May it be a very blessed year. Chag Sameach.